Hello, this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we are starting a new topic on geometry. Today we're going to look at something called adjacent angles. And there's a few things I'd like you to learn about adjacent angles. First of all, the word itself. Adjacent angles just means two or more angles that share a common vertex and arm. Okay, so here's an arm. That's what we call an arm. And I need two angles that come to one point here. I could have an angle coming off this way and an angle coming off that way. So they share the point, they share the arm, and these two angles here are what we call adjacent angles. Now there's a special type of adjacent angles that add up to 90 degrees. So if I made them both come around to an angle like that and made it 90 degrees, we call those angles complementary angles. Okay, so that's an important word to know there as well. And if we have adjacent angles that add up to 180 degrees, they are called supplementary angles. Okay, so you might be having a look at some of these questions here that I have for you. And you can see some of them already where we have right angles in them. These are the ones that are going to be what we call complementary angles. When we have a straight line that is broken up into some angles here, they're the supplementary angles. So what we're going to be doing is we have some problems here where we want to try to use these rules that I've given you to try and find the value of some of the missing angles of the pronumerals there. So all the questions says here, find the value of the pronumeral in each of the following giving reasons. So in geometry, they like you to be able to justify or to give a reason as to why you know that an angle is a certain size. So this first question, number 1, here's our shared arm, some common angles coming off here, sharing the point here. This is just a normal adjacent angles, okay? There's nothing special about them, not a right angle, not a straight line, just adjacent angles. Now those two angles, this one's 34, we have one angle here is 34 and one angle here is 68. So this arc going over the top, that's trying to say how big is that big angle that's actually both of those together. Well, all I need to do to find that angle, that x there, is to add these two numbers together. 68 plus 34. Okay, 68 plus 34, 102 degrees. Okay, we found the answer, but to give the reason, we write down adjacent angles. We put the reason in brackets afterwards. So ADJ, adjacent angles. Okay, so it's kind of an abbreviation for it, adjacent angles. In question 2, I have an angle. I have two angles here again. Both of those angles, they're bigger this time, but both of those angles together make an angle of 242 degrees. So I have adjacent angles again, but this one's a little bit backwards to one I did last time. This time I know the whole big angle, and I'm trying to find one of the smaller ones. So if I want to find y this time, I would start with the whole lot that I know, 242, and I would subtract off this part, the 115, and that would tell me how much is left over here, y, which I'm trying to find. Okay, so let's find 242 minus 115 is equal to 127. And it's the same reason, adjacent angles. Okay, so this is just to clarify this, that's just a little sloping angle with a comma, s, apostrophe s, sorry. All right, question 3. We have some adjacent angles here, but these ones there's actually 3 of these adjacent angles here. They are all in a right angle. They're making a right angle. So if I want to find C, I know that the total is equal to 90 degrees. All I have to do is subtract off these two parts to find the one that I want. So I'll subtract 36, subtract 18, and that's equal to 90 minus 36 minus 18 is equal to 36. Now, while we're using adjacent angles, more specifically, we've used the fact that we had a right angle in here. So this time we need to use the reasoning of complementary angles. So for short, a short way of writing that is to write comp angles. Okay, question 4, we have a straight line. That means that these angles are going to add up to 180 degrees. So D, to find D, I'll start with 180 degrees and I'll subtract off the 88 and the 27. 180 minus 88 minus 27 is equal to 65. And remember, the ones that add to 180 we call supplementary angles. So sup angles for short. Question 5. This is going to be supplementary angles again, but this is getting a little bit harder this time. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 5e. Even though e is the pronumeral that we're trying to find, first of all we start with 5e because that's what's written in that angle. 5e is going to be equal to, the whole angle is 180. If I subtract off the 115, that will tell me what 5e is. So that's 180 minus 115 is 65. So 5e is equal to 65. But I do need to get e by itself. In order to do that, we're going to be doing some equations here. So we'll have to divide by 5, both sides of the equation, divide by 5 to get that 5 away so that e is by itself. 65 divided by 5 is 13. Our reason was a straight line, so it was supplementary angles. Okay, in question 6, this is looking tricky because we have 2 letters in here, but the letters are the same. So what we can do is we can add them together. Now remember, in algebra, f plus f, if they're like terms, we can add them to get 2f. 2f is going to be equal to, well, all those angles are going to add to give 90 degrees. I subtract off the bit that we have, the 52. So 90 minus 52 is 38. So 2f is equal to 38. And now, like this last question, I want to get the f by itself. So I'll divide by 2. 38 divided by 2 is 19. So f is equal to 19. Writing down a reason, it was the right angle, so it's called complementary or comp angles. So when you've been introduced to something new, it is very important to practice it for yourself. I find that practicing is the only way that something will actually stick into my head. So here is a few questions. We just did some just like them. So if you follow the same process, then you should be able to answer these questions. So I'd like you to pause the video and attempt these ones, and then restart the video and I'll go through them for you and help you with any that you found a bit tricky. So, question number 1. So we're finding about the pronumeral, giving reasons for your answer. So these are all some adjacent angles here, just 3 of them joined together. A is just this arc around here, is all of them joined together. So all I need to do to find A is to add them up. 56 plus 42 plus 84. And adding them we get 56 plus 42 plus 84, 182 degrees. And our reason, adjacent angles. Okay, question 2, I've tried to make it look tricky by putting it in a rectangle, but really all I have to worry about is here. I have a straight line and I've broken it into 2 angles. So a straight line is 180 degrees. So to find B, all I have to do is start with 180 degrees, subtract off the 63, and I've got it. So 180 minus 63 is 117 degrees. We used the straight line, so we call that supplementary angles. Question 3, again, I'm trying to trick you by putting a triangle in here, But all we're really using is this right angle. So if we're using the right angle, breaking it in parts here, G is going to be equal to the 90 degrees that the right angle is, and I subtract off the 49. So 90 minus 49 is equal to 41 because of, we call the right angle one complementary angles. Question 4. Okay, we're back to adjacent angles here, so it's not a right angle or a straight line. To find H, we have the total amount here, and I need to subtract off the 73. H equals 158 minus 73. 158 minus 73 is 85 degrees. Reason, adjacent angles. I know it seems silly to write these things over and over, but it really does help you to remember all of your reasons if you do it. And often there is marks for them in your tests for having the reasons there. Question 5. I want to find the P, but first of all, I'll have to start with 3P is equal to, have a right angle, so it's 90 degrees, minus the 30 that we're given. So 3P is equal to, that makes 60. To get P by itself, we have to divide by 3. So P is equal to 20 degrees. Reason, complementary angles. And last one here at the bottom, number 6. There's actually no angles given to us. What we need to do is we need to add our pronumerals together. 4m plus 2m is going to make a 6m. And together those two angles make a straight line, so they make 180 degrees. There's nothing to subtract off because that's the whole thing. All I have to do is get the m by itself. So divide by 6, divide by 6. 180 divided by 6 is 30 degrees. Reason, supplementary angles. Okay, that's it for today. Each day for the next little while, we're going to be adding new rules for you to be learning. So it's important now that you learn adjacent angles, complementary angles, and supplementary angles. Get very familiar with those so that you're ready to learn some new ones next time. And bye for now. I'll see you then.